got it, don't worry. And then 70-year-old grandma, I was like so shocked. My grandma can't do that.
And they were full. And then the owner came and asked, oh, what would you like to eat?
처음 왔을 때 너무 갑자기예요.
Unbelievable. It's incredible, really incredible.
Dan Loki. I almost cry. Different others country.
Businessmen, like just everyone, like I don't know, very Hanguk style, very Korean style. It's very different to Japan.
Yes, I was here one time before and I was staying with my friend and his grandma, and his grandma is 70 years old, and in their apartment, one day the ceiling came down at one corner, like just a piece of the ceiling like was falling down, and then I told his grandma and asked if I should like call someone to repair it, and she was like, oh no, I got it, don't worry. And then his 70-year-old grandma got out her ladder and her tools and just went up and fixed the ceiling, and it was so cool because she's so tough, but she's also like a grandma. And yeah, I feel like a lot of Korean like older people are like still very like, yeah, so strong. yeah. I was like, oh, I need to call someone to fix this for us, and she was like, no, I got it, don't worry. It just like came down. I was like so shocked. Yeah, my grandma can't do that. My grandma is like this, you know. I love my grandma. Shout out to my grandma.
My aunt and uncle, they're from the UK, Yongguk, and from South Africa. And so they visited Korea a long time ago, and they had never been to Korea before, I don't think, or they weren't very familiar with Korean culture. So they went to a restaurant and they ordered one beer, and out came a huge jug of beer. And they were surprised, oh, it's a big beer, and banchan. But they didn't know it was a side dish. They didn't know it was banchan, so they just ate all the banchan and they were full. And then the owner came and asked, oh, what would you like to eat? And they were surprised, oh, we already ate? This isn't the meal? So they were very surprised and full. And the owner only charged them for one beer. So they were very surprised, pleasantly surprised. It left a good impression on them. Yeah, so ever since then, whenever we go to a restaurant, they always eat all the banchan. They don't like to leave anything over.
네, 있습니다. 한국에서는 처음 왔을 때 우리가 만약에 회사 갔을 때 아니면 걸어갈 때 빨리빨리 해요. 일도 빨리빨리 하고 그다음에 또 버스 타면 만약에 시간이 지나면 바로 버스가 갔어요. 그래서 또 다음 시간에 기다렸어요. 우리나라에서는 버스가 우리한테 기다렸어요. 그래서 한국에 처음 왔을 때 너무 갑자기예요. 문화가 달라요. 근데 한국에서 오랫동안 우리가 알고 있었어요. 네, 익숙했어요.
I remember when I was younger, maybe 10 years old, I came to Seoul. There was a couple times, so we went on the subway and it was very busy, and like I saw people jumping on top of each other in the train station, and it was very surprising. And then people were like pushing each other onto the train. That's very different to Australia, because in Australia it's very relaxed and there's like not that many people on the train. Like even like not like train people, like businessmen, like just everyone like pushing each other, like being really, I don't know, very Hanguk style, very Korean style. It's very different to Japan and stuff. Yeah, it was quite funny. Very high population and very busy, very small area. So there's just like not a lot of space for people to move around, which is like very different to Australia, because in Australia, very small amount of people but very big land. Completely the opposite. And then another thing that was like really shocking is like how cold it is. Like -20. It was -20 one day. And in Australia it gets to like 40 degrees. So it was like super different temperature. Very shocking. Been to
I've
Korea
never
before.
been to Korea, so I guess we'll
she
find
doesn't.
out. I came here in my sandals, so I hope my feet don't get too cold.
I think my hometown has a lot of farms, so it's very flat. So when I came to Korea and I saw the mountains in the view and the vista, the skyline, the mountains in the background, it was really, really shocking, really impressive. Like my full first year here, I think I was just always so impressed and so amazed looking at the mountains just on the border of my view, right? And then towards the end of that year, and then to my second year, I started hiking and going up the mountains, like up Sobiksan and up Gayasan and up some of these mountains, and seeing the view is unbelievable. It's incredible, really incredible seeing the view from the top of these mountains. It's crazy, especially like I hadn't seen a mountain before coming to Korea, and then to be on top and looking down and seeing this view, like it's wild, unbelievable. I mean, like, to the point where I think if someone were to come to Korea for tourism, what I would recommend wouldn't be like going to a big city or like Seoul or anything like that, any of like these big city attractions. It'd be to get some time going out there hiking, because that is phenomenal. There's so many stairs. It's just stairs all the way for hours, but the view is really, really great. I found a hiking group, like a hiking club run by the park rangers, and they take us to different mountains. There's a hiking passport you can get, like a little hiking passport where you get a stamp for every mountain you go to in Korea too. Like the hiking scene is pretty cool.
First time when I went to Korea, the most shocking thing that there were no rubbish bins on the streets, because in Poland, in Europe, the rubbish bins are everywhere, like next to the stations, next to bus stops, etc. So people just throw it away, and here there is no any rubbish bins. Maybe you can walk like 1 hour, you find anything, but besides that, there is very clear. There is no rubbish anywhere, so that's the paradox I found that. But by what I saw, that it may be not necessary, because as I said, the city is very clear and there is no rubbish. So.
The most unforgettable thing is in Jiangling. We lock our luggage on the locker just because we don't know how to. We want to save our luggage over there. 第一天他以为他是不知道是怎么用，因为他以为是先把行李箱放进去再付款，然后我们后面才了解到就是要先付款然后再放 and we didn't give them money and the locker is open and my cousin and my sister put the luggage over there and then lock it. It's very big luggage. Our clothes is all over there. I almost cry. But after that, we asked some people for help. 然后那个后台工作人员就帮我们从后台系统那里改一些程序，然后后面他们再重新付款之后，那个行李箱打开了，然后我们才拿回我们行李箱。The first day is she put the luggage locked there, and the second day is she. 然后第二天呢，是他不知道我打开的是哪个箱子，他就随便放进去了一个已经打开的箱子里面。Yes, during the first day we said that we hope this thing won't happen again, but the second day happened again. So this experience is very unforgettable.
When I came here first time, it was 11 years ago, I had that trouble to reach someone. We made an appointment and I couldn't find those people, and a friendly guy helped me at the subway station, and he allowed me to use his phone to make a phone call and help me to reach that people and clarify where we should meet. We are lost and no option back then to make a phone call. 11 years ago it was slightly different. It wasn't so easy, right? Like less social media and stuff like this, and I couldn't call, so that was very friendly, I think. Nice memory.
I will say very impressive. I used to study at Korean University in Busan 3 years ago, and I met my professor at that time that he really encouraged me a lot, because at that time I'm going to pursue my master degree in Hong Kong and Singapore, and every time I have some questions he will respond in detail whenever how late it is, and I'm so thankful about that. And even in these days we still be very closer friends, and the reason I came to Korea this time is to meet him, and we want to share a great coffee in the coffee shop. So at that time I think Korea people is really nice, and I love Korea so much that I want to go back here maybe in the future.
Okay, maybe impressive. In here, every grandma, every grandpa is nice to children. So nice and greet my son. It is different others country greeting and give anything, maybe fruits, snacks like this.
I think my favorite very impressive memory is in Jeju Island, because I went to Awop Street Cafe and it was the most beautiful sunset that I've ever been in my life, and I just love that. Yeah, because I don't know, maybe it was just because I'm traveling, but it's just so pretty, and it happened after the rain, and the sunset is the best in Jeju in my opinion. And then everyone is very kind, so I'm very happy. Even though I don't speak Korean, but sign language and small words, but yeah.
In this country, this first we can show the snow.
Yeah, this is the first time. Like we just usually show in the TV. And right now we saw with our eyes.
In Indonesia,
There's no snow. We have only two weather, only rain and
And
dry.
dry.
So in this Korean, you have 4 seasons, right? It's so amazing.
and this weather is too cold to me and wife. Yes.
Yeah, the first time we get Korea, take the Incheon and go out. It's so freezing. The moment, so first experience, shocking experience.
Korea have a never map. It's so helpful in this place. We can do anywhere with the never map.
And never
Yeah.
we get anything. Thank you so much. Never met in Korean.
I can't say it's very actually shocking or surprising. Actually, we all together works on ship. Last month we are here in Korea and we experienced snow here. So it was very cold here. Actually, there are some guys who never experienced this much cold before in their life.
Here is too much cold and climate is also good. So we are before never faced this too much cold. Even before one time only we are facing in Russia, Norissus. There are also same climate. So I feel good. Climate is good.
And actually, we like Korea because the people here are very kind to each other. They speak very well. They are very well mannered. So I feel actually Korea is more, other country we have never seen the good people like this.
This is my second time in Korea, but it's very different from my first time go to in Korea because the weather is winter. So in my country we don't have winter season. So this is our best experience. And my wife is she excited about the winter coming. Yeah, it's very survive because I have 3 or 4 layer. It's very cold. Yeah, but I'm happy about that. And I think Seoul is a good city. We just find anything in never map, so the way is very connecting. So we not have difficult to find the way. And my first time here, Korean drama is not popular. So now I'm here in second time. I have a memory about Korean drama. Me and my wife is very like Korean drama. So experience in second time in Korea is better because the Korean drama is make me wow, this is in scene in yeah, it's like, so I'm very excited and I hope I come here again.
I am actually working in South Korea 3 years ago. This is very beautiful experience because the people of Korea are so kind and they are very hospitable. Like when you ask them like I wanna go there, so they will teach you properly how to go there. Yeah, everything in Korea is good, very much. I like this. So when I exit from the airport and outside the weather was very much cold, so it was very much surprising for me. It's very cold here.